friends, Miss Martin here. So today I'm just going to show you a quick couple of examples of how fractions and long division go together. All right, so I've got some steps over here on the side like usual, and I've got two examples that I'd like to go through with you. So the first thing we're going to jump into when we get into chapter 7 is fractions times whole numbers, okay? So we're going to look at some examples of that and how long division relates to that. All right, and I'm going to show you a couple of tricks. So if you're going to do 6 times 7/11, all right, first you're going to, like we saw in our video with Mr. J, put 6, that whole number, over 1, right? Because it's 6 wholes. And then now that that's a fraction, we can multiply it by 7/11, which is already a fraction. And when we multiply with fractions, we go straight across. So we multiply straight across. 6 times 7, right, we're timesing, is 42. And 1 times 11, of course, is 11, right? So now that I've got this fraction, what we've talked about is that fractions are division, right? Fractions are division sentences. Okay, fractions are division sentences. So we're going to set it up like one. So remember that our numerator, or our dividend, is what we call it in division. It goes in the box. I'm going to put 42 in the box, and our divisor, or our denominator, goes outside the box. 11 goes on the outside, okay? Now, here is how we divide. Okay, and we're going to do with long division. Now, this trick that I like to use, this is a trick that I like to use. I just write a list of all the multiples of that divisor, and it's going to help me. Okay, so this one's kind of going to be a small one. So I go 11, here's my list, times 1, 11's list, actually, I'm going to call it. Times 1 is, of course, 11. Times 2 is 22, times 3 is 33, times 4. Now, if you have a multiplication table, you already have this list, right? You don't actually need to write one. But if you don't, I would write one because it's really helpful. Times 6, 66, times 7, 77, times 8, 88, times 9, 99. Now, whenever you're doing long division, these are the only ones you need, times 1 through 9, all right? And we're going to use this way more as we get into bigger numbers with two-digit numbers that we don't already know the multiples of, right? Like 24 or 32, we don't already know those multiples, so we would write this list and then we'd be ready to divide. So, as we know, we look at the first number, so this next part says, start at the front and follow the steps below. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and either repeat or remainder, okay? So I look at the first number, it says start at the front, so I look at the first number, 4. Try to divide. How many times does 11 go into 4? Well, all of my multiples are bigger than 4, so it doesn't go in any time. It's too small, that's a 0. But I can then blend it to be the number 42. And remember, I want to get as close as I can without going over. That's always the trick, right? Close as you can without going over. So let's see, 11, 22, 33, 44 is over. So the biggest I can go is right here, times 3. So my 3 goes on top, your multiple goes on top, and then the number you multiply by goes on top. And then the actual multiple goes underneath because you're going to subtract it, right? Multiply the number on top, subtract the multiple. 33 was the multiple, so I'm going to subtract that. Okay, this becomes a 3, this becomes 12. 12 minus 3 is 9. 3 minus 3, of course, is nothing. So I've got 9. Now the next step says bring down. Well, there's nothing over here for me to bring down. So if I can't bring down, I need to do a remainder, all right? Now, we talked about this in class. When you have a remainder and we're dealing with fractions, you're just going to bring it up, and you're going to put the remainder as the numerator, and then you keep that same denominator, which was 11, right? So 3 and 9 elevenths. 3 and 9 elevenths, right? There we go. And there is our final answer. So 6 times 7 elevenths equals 3 and 9 elevenths. All right, and we used our list, we used some long division, and we're gonna get into some even harder ones in just a moment. All right, we are back for our second example. So if you look over here, it is 6/7 times 22. All right, our whole number is 22, 6/7 is our fraction. So as you hopefully remember, when we multiply with a fraction and a whole number, we want to make sure that the whole number gets put into over 1, right? We want to make it into a fraction too. So I'm going to keep 6/7, and then I'm going to put 22 over 1, right? That's our whole number, so it just goes over 1. All right, now remember that when we're multiplying, we just go straight across. We're going to multiply straight across. 6 times 22. Well, 6, if you need help with that, I'm going to show you how to do that. 22, 6 times. So 6 times 2 is 12, carry the 1. Again, 6 times 2 is 12 plus 1 equals 13, right? So our numerator is 132 over, and then down here, 7 times 1, of course, is just 7. All right, so this is our improper fraction, and we need division to help us to get to that mixed number answer, right? We don't want to leave it as an improper fraction. So here we go. I am going to take the numerator and put it inside the box, 132, and I'm going to put that denominator or divisor outside the box. 7 goes outside the box, right? Now I'm going to start these steps again. Start at the front and follow the steps below. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat, or remainder. Okay, so divide. How many times does 7 go into 1? Well, let's get my 7s list, right? Again, if you have a multiplication sheet, you don't need to write this list because you can just look at your sheet. But for me, 7 times 1, of course, is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 7 is 49. That's a square. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 9 is 63. Okay, now that I have this list, I can use it to do this division, right? Okay, so 7 does not go into 1. I can tell because none of my multiples match 1. They're all actually greater than 1. So it doesn't go into 1 anytime. That's a 0. But I can blend that and get the number 13. How many times does 7 go into 13? Well, again, looking at my list, 14 goes over 13, so I have to use the one below it. So it only goes in 1 time, so I put the 1 on top, and the multiple 7 goes underneath because I'm going to subtract it, right? So minus 7. 13 minus 7 is 6. Okay, now you're going to see this bring down, okay? Bring down means there's another number left. I'm going to bring it down and put it behind the 6. Now I have the number 62, right? So now I'm going to look through this list and get as close as I can to 62 without going over. Oh, there's 63, which is over. So I'm going to take the 1 below it. The closest I can get is times 8, right? The number I'm multiplying by goes on top, and the multiple goes underneath. So I'm subtract 56. All right. Now with subtraction, 2 minus 6, hopefully your brain just said can't do it, right? So that 6 is going to become a 5, and this 2 is going to become 12. 12 minus 6, easy peasy, that's a doubles fact, is 6. And of course, 5 minus 5 is nothing. I don't have any more numbers to bring down, so I can't repeat these steps. Instead, I'm going to do a remainder, remember? So when I have a remainder, I bring that remainder all the way up, and I'm going to turn it back into a fraction. So 6 is my remainder. It's going to be my numerator, and my denominator stays the same. So if you remember, it was 7, and of course, I can see that because my divisor is 7. So I just put the 7 on bottom. And so my answer is 18 and 6/7. All right, 6/7 times 22 is 18 and 6/7. All right, and that is how we can use a multiples list to do that division. All right, now after you've watched this video, I would like you to tell me one thing that you learned. Did you learn how to multiply whole numbers times a fraction? Did you remember or learn how to do long division? Did you learn how to make long division a little simpler by using a multiplication chart or creating a list of multiples, right? Tell me what you learned from this video, at least one thing in your Flipgrid video for this week. All right, have a wonderful weekend, friends, and I will see you on Tuesday.